Winning this last year for Buston Young and Craig Newitt. Turbo, who we'll see here second, Sig Positano third. Corner Pocket won this a couple of years ago. It was his sixth straight victory. His eighth straight was winning the listed Elms handicap at Flemington the following February. Horse one is Open Minded, who's in familiar climbs, Dave, but needing to return to form.
He goes to bed thinking about the Caulfield 1,400 metres, though, open-minded. He loves it here. The stable are on fire, but they need to be on fire to overturn his recent form. He had a forgivable run last start, covering ground at Flemington, but his last few runs since his last win in early 2022 have been rating down.
Physically, he looks like he can bounce back. He's a really nice, fit horse now, and his behaviour has got better on race days, a lot more relaxed. Good purpose to his stride in the yard today.
Return to racing for the two St. Bathans, who is a winner here on Caulfield Cup Day last year over 1,700.
He's versatile on all surfaces, but I will say he is better the wetter the ground gets. He's here off 12 weeks with no jump out. He was a good winner, beating a subsequent winner at Sandown over the mile prior to the break, but just no jump out between runs. Hard to get a read on how he's going.
It can be very typical of him to be a bit of a handful in the yard. They utilise the pony to wander next to try and keep him as relaxed as possible. He's got a little bit of improvement to come.
3 scratching for She's the Gift goes from Waller to Dale.
Another one first up without a public trial or jump out, and she has actually got a little bit of a habit fresh up of missing the start, so she can't afford to get too far back today. Some of her best form would measure up. She's a good miler, so kicking off at 1,400 metres suits, but another one pretty hard to get a read on how she's been going in that spell.
Yeah, not a mare I know well, and she does get a little bit toey in the mounting yard. The team have clipped her, and she looks pretty healthy in the skin, and she looks very forward in terms of her fitness as well. 5
Aaron Bay returns, ran fourth in the 3-year-old contest over this trip last year before backing up a week later to win the Silver Bowl.
His form says he takes a run to get going, but some of his first up numbers are quite good and would produce a performance that is winnable in this field. I thought he's jumped out really well down the back at Pakenham over 1,000 metres, and from barrier one he draws to do no work.
He's come back in really good order, this horse. He used to get himself quite worked up in the mounting yard and quite warm, and you can see he's just breaking out into a little bit of a sweat now, but his overall manner has been much more calm and relaxed wandering around the yard today. Probably a little bit of natural improvement to come, but I think this horse has come back a little bit better, particularly from a mental perspective this time in.
With the rain minutes away, whether it comes prior to this race or just after it, Barbie's Fox would be hoping it's sooner rather than later, given her profile on soft and heavy tracks.
Yeah, she does excel with giving the ground. That said, she has won at Caulfield on a good 4 track over the mile. Her win a few back was on a soft 5, so she gets through most conditions. She's racing in terrific heart this preparation. She was good along the inside last start in the inferior going, back up to 1,400 metres suit. She's got a turn of foot, and she likes Caulfield. 2 wins here from 10 goes.
Yeah, she's a lovely mare. She's coping with her racing well. She's just dropped her head and wandered around the yard, a top parade.
7 Mensa Missile resumes for Waterhouse Bot and was fairly solid in benchmark races through the spring in Sydney.
He's a handy horse, this. He's been jumping out well at Flemington as well. A good jumping in behind Nicolini Vito over 800 metres, should I say, recently. He is a horse that takes a few to get going, though. 5 first up runs, just the 1 placing, and that's owing to the fact that he likes to go forward and bowl along. You want to be hard fit for that racing style.
He is quite a gross type, carries a bit of weight round to his midsection. He does have some good muscle definition, though. He doesn't look too far away.
Next horse to profile is the 8 in Ton of Grit. Good win over Cooled at Lakeside before being behind Monarch of Egypt at Hillside.
And he's had a tick over jump out behind Mensa Missile, where he just went around for a cruise around at Flemington between runs. Stays at 1,400 metres. He'll get back from that wide draw, so he'll need some luck, but he'll strong to the line in a fast race behind Monarch of Egypt.
Yeah, kept up to the mark, does everything right in the yard. A typical parade from him.
9 St. Lawrence resumes for Mar Eustace. 4 wins and a placing in 5 career starts.
Yeah, won his first 4 and has been going around at short odds. The market adores this bloke. His jump outs have been rather quiet, hard to read into them as well, but the money has come for him, and he's a good horse based on what he's done, and he's improved his rating every time he's stepped onto the track.
He's not going to win any beauty contests. He's not the nicest horse on type to look at wandering around the yard, but he's very athletic, and he comes to hand very quickly, and he looks very fit wandering around the yard. He's alert, he's bright, he does everything right, so he's got all the right mannerisms.
10 Turbo, second to He's Our Bonneval in this race 12 months ago. Jared Fry rides for the second time in Turbo's 30 career starts to date. The only other time he's been aboard was a second placing in January's Camperdown Cup.
Yeah, just looking at the window here and hoping that rain doesn't come before the race starts, because he does excel on good tracks. He has a good run here behind Hezard Bonneval on a soft 6 track last preparation, but third up today. He dropped in distance last start at Rose Hill, looked outsped, but getting to 1,400 metres third up, he's set to peak.
Yeah, once he gets fit, he maintains really well. He's moving nicely in the yard and he's lovely and relaxed.
Tony and Calvin McAvoy bring an international galloper to Caulfield, 11 Federal, who'd raced exclusively in Ireland in his 5 career starts, including 1 run at listed level.
He's a fascinating runner. He's off 6 months. The win 2 back was very good. He got back, he charged home, and then you'd argue last start over the mile he should have won. He was luckless and would have gone very close, and they look like they're keeping him under wraps at the jump outs too. He looks like he's got a bit to offer.
He's a nice horse. He's quite neat. He's compact. He's got really good strength in behind the saddle. He carries himself really nicely in the yard and completely comfortable in a new environment under race day conditions. He's certainly one to watch here.
Calvin McAvoy keeping a very watchful eye on him as he has a little bit of a trot down the straight the opposite way. One heading towards the gates is the 13 Serious Liaison. All the best to Hutch here, second up.
He hadn't had any goes on a wet track prior to his last 2, but I think we can safely say that he's a better horse on top of the ground. So although we're on a soft 6 today, it's probably racing a little bit better than that 6 that he encountered at Sandown last start. But the drop in weight will certainly suit him. He's a horse that likes to get back and run on, but he would need to improve off his previous 2 runs.
I thought he was a little bit more tractable in the yard first up this preparation. His behaviour was a little bit more controlled, and that's exactly what we saw from him today, so that's a good sign going forward. He certainly strips a bit fitter today.
14 Sonora into open company after 2 runs in Fillies and Mares benchmark 78s this time in.
There's good tempo in this, but I think she'll be able to lead. We've seen that there's been no disadvantage to be on speed. The track is racing fair across, and she was off 5 weeks last start. She had every chance relative to the tempo of the race, behind Party for 1, but she gets better with racing under the belt. She'll roll forward, and she gets a big weight drop.
She strips fit too. She's built really nicely in this campaign and gets somewhere near her peak here. I thought her coat had the capacity to improve last time I saw her as well, so she's certainly headed in the right direction.
Field for race 6, 1,400 metre benchmark 84 contest. The rain is imminent. A question of when it arrives in relation to this race.
Hopefully this race can outrun the rain, and hopefully Turbo can outrun the other runners in this race as well. I think he's really well placed third up at a good value price. Sonora will roll forward from a low draw. St. Lawrence, he's got the SP profile of a very good horse. And Federal as well, that overseas form looks to stack up, and he's jumped out well.
Yeah, Federal's the one that's caught the eye in the mounting yard. 11 on top for me. He's a compact horse, and he's certainly got a nice physique about him. Good size hind quarter, so for a nice neat horse, he's very strong. Love the way he carried himself in the yard, and I thought he handled himself brilliantly in a new environment. So he was easy to like. The 11 on top. Outside of that, Barbie's Fox continues to present in really good order. She's coping with her racing well. She looked bright. And St. Lawrence, nice and fit and forward and ready for this.
No real knocks on any runners so far from a market perspective here. St. Lawrence just with a little late drift, but expected, did get fairly short in the market after being crunched at that opening price. Plenty more coming through this though. Sonara, $7 there. Barbie's Fox getting some good support, $9, just ticking out to $9.50. Aaron Bay, a market mover here, $15.12 into $9.50. And of course, St. Bathan's down the bottom, $18 into $10. Now, if you don't want to listen to Dave next to me giving you all the analysis, then just have a look in your Sportsbet app, because we got fast form. Dave's worried that he might be out of a job if this keeps catching on. I reckon he'll be pretty safe over there, but fast form, it just gets a little bit easier there with Sportsbet. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on your screen or visit the website.
A couple of runners here for the Mar Eustace stable as Jack Turnbull's been kind enough to join us pre-race. Let's start with St. Lawrence. He's obviously got a cracking winning strike rate and just a handful of career starts to date. How's the horse present in terms of condition first up?
Presents well. He's quite clean in the coat, still got improvement, and we're drawn wide, so it'll be a matter of how he steps. Spoke to Ben beforehand, but I think at best he's probably midfield, but he's between there and rear of.
Have you changed anything up with his preparation where he's domiciled after getting him across from New Zealand earlier in the year?
No, he's a product of Ballarat, so he went straight back there after a spell. They're very happy with him. Deck said he's flying, so hopefully he's got that fitness to run out a strong 14 off a hot tempo.
You've engaged the Cartwright claim here with Sonora down the bottom. Again, placement-wise, what was the decision to come here off 2 runs in 78 fillies and mares class?
Yeah, well, she likes ground with cut, and we just felt at the weights this race was more suitable than Sydney. So, given the low draw, she can just bounce, put herself on speed, control, dictate, and hopefully, if she gets it her way, she could very much run away with it.
How would you go splitting them?
Hard one, but yeah, I mean, if they're a 1-2, we'll be happy with that.
See if you can pull off what the Kavanaghs did in the previous. Jack, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We've already seen a stable Quinella here this afternoon. The Mar Eustace team, a couple of nice chances in this next event at Caulfield. There was a little bit of chat while I was in the mounting yard between yourself and Nigel, Dave, about the impending weather. I choose not to look up at the sky when I'm standing in the mounting yard, but it has got a little bit dark out there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and there is a band of rain coming across Melbourne as we speak. That band of rain has already hit Ballarat, and that dropped 1.2 mils on Ballarat. So that same band moving through Caulfield now, we'd be expecting the same amount of rain, you'd think. So around 1 mil about to hit Caulfield, but it looks like we're going to get this race underway before that rain comes, and that's good for my hope. Turbo, who likes running on top of the ground. We heard Blake Shin in the previous race say they are starting to get the toe into the ground as well, but as you'd expect with the track fresh up, it's been racing really even and beautiful for racing. But if you are nearby at Caulfield, maybe grab your brolly or head inside to the members, because it is about to rain.
Like your weather chat, Dave, is working for racing.com and doing form, just a little bit of a stepping stone to getting on one of the mainstream channels and reading weather.
I don't think I'm good looking enough, Jane, unfortunately. They say voice for radio, head for radio as well, so maybe not a weatherman, but I do love my radars. Getting out on the bike, used to be a phys ed teacher. You've got to see what's going on outside, and weather in horse racing, very important, of course. Horses that like particular going as well. So we're about to get a little bit of rain at Caulfield. So perhaps Milford, a horse that likes going on top of the ground later on in the program, he might not want the full 1.2 mils they got at Ballarat. But they're loading here for the 6th at Caulfield. Here's Adamo.
It's freshened since its last victory back in March at Sandown. Federal making its Australian debut, the Irish import, with 2 wins at the Curragh and Leopardstown. Barbie's Fox, one of a couple of mares about to walk up. Here's St. Lawrence and Ton of Grit as it gets a lot darker with this storm approaching. And the City Index handicap over 1,400 metres nearing a start. There's Ton of Grit going in. And there's plenty of action in the barriers, plenty of commotion, and rider of She's the Gift getting back in the stalls. Tom Stockdale. Attendants either sides. Starter remains on his ladder. And we just wait, making sure everyone's okay. Now another one out deep is playing up. Starter doesn't dilly-dally, they're off. She's the Gift a little bit slow. And Sonora, one of the first out from Arran Bay. Open-minded up there, and Mensa Missile pressing on into 3rd. Federal's up to 5th, Turbo 6th. They're 2 lengths on St. Bathans travelling on the inside, and Barbie's Fox in that division, and St. Lawrence as well. They're back in the second half, a length and a half further back to Ton of Grit, and then comes She's the Gift on the inside, and Serious Liaison is back last. They head down the side, 1,000 metres left to go. The mare Sonora leads the way by a neck. Mensa Missile gets a bit closer. Then comes Arran Bay travelling on the inside of Open-Minded as it starts to rain. 800 metres left to go. Federal tucked away back on the fence. St. Lawrence 3 wide striding up outside of Turbo. And then comes Ton of Grit. It's back 4th last from Barbie's Fox. And then comes Serious Liaison. St. Bathans got shovelled back to 2nd last, and She's the Gift is back last. Sonora starts to roll, coming up to the bend. 400 out, leads a neck. Mensa Missile breathing down its neck. They turn from Arran Bay. Open-Minded. St. Lawrence cruising into the race to the centre of the track, and then comes Ton of Grit. Turbo held up, and Federal looking for a run, but here's St. Lawrence pouncing on them. In the meantime, Ton of Grit coming after it a half length away. Barbie's Fox launching down the outside, so Ton of Grit moves up to St. Lawrence. Barbie's Fox continues to close. It's a 3-way go, could be anyone's. St. Lawrence has kicked. Barbie's Fox has joined it. In between them, Ton of Grit. Nose is in it. They got away from Turbo. Then came Federal. In behind those runners was Mensa Missile, and then came St. Bathans. Towards midfield, Aaron Bay, open-minded. She's the Gift, and then Sonora and Serious Liaison.
St. Lawrence will get it on the inside and has fought back on resumption to just see off Ton of Grit, who perhaps was the one you wanted to be on with about 100 metres to go when it got on terms, and then perhaps even got in front for Team Hawks in those famous Rupert Lee colours. And Barbie's Fox, well, might be a case of what might have been. The rain did arrive. If you're backing the rain, you've got that right side of the ledger, but perhaps Barbie's Fox, as we mentioned, maybe needed this race to be run in about 5 minutes' time as the rain intensifies and starts to hit this Caulfield track that Blake Shinn alluded to is perhaps just starting to open up a little bit after its first 5 races on resumption after 7 months. But St. Lawrence was 3 wide in stages of that race coming towards the home turn. Ben Allen got going, got to the front, perhaps might have hit the front a little bit early, but this horse has dug deep to find something and win fresh at the 1,400 metres. So 9, 8, 6 and 10 are going to be your numbers. Turbo, second in the race last year, 4th on this occasion. Pretty good top 3 maybe to take going forward, Dave.
He's just a winner, St. Lawrence. First up today, he needed to elevate. He was up in grade, and he's been progressing through his grades really nicely, and the market has really latched on to this horse, not only late in the piece today, but in his previous starts. And the market wasn't wrong. This is a horse with plenty of talent. That's his 6th start today for 5 wins and a third, and they've run slow enough time, so 1:26.02, over a full second outside the previous race, 1:24.93, won by Lounge Bar Ruby. So maybe not too much of a disadvantage for him in and out of cover, but he was tough because Ton of Grit has been up a while. This preparation had jumped out between runs, and on the side, on angle, you can see Ton of Grit does edge in front of St. Lawrence, but he just knows where the winning post is. Barbie's Flock's flashing late, and a gap back to Turbo as well. He was just out sprinted today, 3rd up at 1,400 metres. But St. Lawrence, the margin on the line might have only been small, but this horse's heart is very big because winners win, and that's exactly what he did today first up. And you think they're going to have a lot of fun for him throughout the winter. The Kiramar and Dave Eustace stable presented this runner first up today, and Nige is with some of the winning connections.
Yeah, Jack Turnbull's with us, and we've all wussed out and relocated inside as this rain starts to hit. Caulfield, congrats on the winning return from St. Lawrence, Jack, but is there a little bit extra merit given the horse had to dig deep and find something to stave off Ton of Grit fresh?
Yeah, very much so. He was wide, no cover. We discussed that pre-race with Ben, and we were happy to be there, you know, if it was meant to be. But yeah, full credit to the horse. He dug in deep and then went again late when that horse collared him.
Sort of horse, though, that you mentioned Ben had him 3 wide at stages, but he's just going to enjoy being able to have a little bit of clear galloping room and be a bit freer in transit typically.
Yeah, he's a big lad and wants a lot of space, so he's definitely not a stop and start horse. It probably suited him, but you know, he still covered ground with the wind, etc. First up too, so full credit to the Ballarat team. They've had him cherry ripe. Deck was pretty confident, and it's paid dividends.
It's an interesting time to kick him off. Last Saturday in June, there's some headroom still attached to the ratings for him, but where can he get to over the next month or so?
There's a race in a month of the same class and trip, which he will go to. There's not much for him, but he can just tiptoe through winter, and then if he responds and progresses, then obviously we've got spring.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Ben Allen to come in and join us after the victory of St. Lawrence. Similar question to the one posed to Jack. Did you think that it was a foregone conclusion you were going to run a gallant placing rather than win when Ton of Grit presented?
To be honest, I was actually surprised when I felt them come up next to me, because the way I let down, I thought nothing was going to be getting to me. I was just going to punch him along. But yeah, they caught me by surprise, but I hadn't fully tested and gone for him just yet. And once I gave him a few with the whip, he lengthened good and he was tough late through the line. Obviously, we caught 3 wide, but it actually didn't work out too bad. It was a bit stop-start, and I was able to just keep flowing on him. And yeah, it was a tough win.
Is he a horse that perhaps needs a little bit of that healthy competition as well late in a race to get the best out of him and seek a response?
Most likely, but yeah, honestly, you let down that well. I was pretty surprised when they come up to me, but once they did give him a few, I was confident I was going to get there, but it was tight.
Well done.
Thank you.
Race number 6 at Morfordville. We kick off the quadrilla here with a race over 2,500 metres, and Pat Ryan's already had a